Hey there, it's Laura Dominic. Thanks for joining me on a Plan for Joy podcast. Each week we'll be talking about things that will help you break the cycle of depletion. You know, the one that has you going from doing all the things to feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, resentment, anger, to sucking it up and starting all over again. And instead, learn to break the cycle and contribute from a place of abundance. Are you ready? Good. Let's go. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. I am thrilled to have Catherine McLaughlin as a guest on the episode today. And I first met Catherine 2 years ago, roughly, when she became the strategist for the small group masterclass that I signed up for through the Women's School. We had not met before, but her group that she led had a profound impact on my life. And so we've since gone on to become certified strategists with the Women's School, but that's not why she's here today. What I want her to tell you is about the amazing 6-month journey that she's been on, which really started about 12 years ago when her husband first shared a dream with her that he had, that he wanted to move to Panama, and she really didn't want to have any part of it. But they just got back. They live in the southwestern United States. And so I am so excited to have her here to tell us how that went, what led up to it, how she changed her mind and all that good stuff, and to find out the ending of the story. Really, probably not the end, though. So, because I haven't heard that part either. So it'll be fun for all of us. So Catherine, welcome. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Laura. And it's a pleasure to be here.
If you want to just start out, just giving us the background story, whatever you want to share, go right ahead.
Well, my husband and I, before we met, we were both pretty well traveled outside of the U.S., Europe, Asia, Latin America. And we have 4 children. We've homeschooled for 4.5 years. And about 12 years ago, the idea of taking our family overseas to do world schooling, to give us an opportunity to experience a different culture, to learn a new language, although my Spanish is the strongest of everybody here in this household. So, 12 years ago, Panama came across his radar screen, and for about a decade, he was watching videos, reading about Panama, the benefits, the drawbacks. And so when he proposed this idea a long time ago, my response was, I just thought, oh no, please God, no, I do not want to do that. Like, I'll travel, yes, but taking children outside the country and living life. And back then, I thought his vision was a little more short-sighted, like we'd be doing this in a year or 2. And we had 2 little ones under the age of 5, going on actually just having a 3rd one. So I just thought this was crazy. Total craziness. So we just continued to live life in the States. We were largely in New Mexico, and then Kentucky, and then New Mexico again, and then Texas. So we move around. No, we're not military. That is the first question that most people ask. Not military. It's just work and family reasons why we move a lot. Anyway, when I first started with the Women's School, I entered at the end of 20. Is that right? You came in 21. So yes, right. December, at the very tail end of December 2020. So about February, I started my own masterclass as a student. And throughout that time, we learned about dreams, and that dreams fuel our plan for life, fuel discipline, and help us become more of who God wants us to be. And so after several months in that, and then COVID came, actually COVID came before the women's school. However, details.
Right.
With homeschooling, and we always have rented, we've never been officially tied down to any one place with a mortgage or schools. So we had that flexibility going for us. And so this desire of Patrick's to go to Panama just never left him alone. And so around that time, I said, okay, I'm open. You know, if this is something that you really want, okay, I'm open to it. Maybe not right now, but I'm open. So, and part of what went into that openness was that I knew that desires come from God. We say, the word desire, desire of the Father. So desires that are planted in us are meant for a reason to come to fruition through us. So I thought, okay, Lord, if my husband has had this desire for over a decade now, I should probably just, trust that that's there for a reason and just be open. So coming to when we made our decision, it was, what month are we in? It was actually around this time last year.
Wow. Okay.
More so, maybe March is when we landed on the decision that yes, this is actually a good time of life because we were still homeschooling. We were living in southern New Mexico in a little town of Alamogordo, which doesn't have too much to offer, to be kind. But nevertheless, I met some wonderful friends there. Thank you, Jesus. So we were looking at moving to Las Cruces, New Mexico, but then we just got kind of tired with being in the desert, needed some kind of change. None of the kids were really heavily involved in sports. None of them had a really strong friend base here. So again, nothing was tying us down. So we just said, okay, if we wait, we're getting 2 years closer to our oldest graduating from high school. And so then we're bumping into plans that we really need to lock in. So it turned out to be the best time. So we made the decision, yes, in February, March last year. And then I remember buying the tickets was probably the hardest click of a mouse I've ever done. It's like, tuck, 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 tuck. Really, this is really hard. Like, because that's no going back. That's like
Right.
touching the dream for real. And that's a choice. That's a decision.
Right.
Flag in the ground. So,
But do you feel like you had like a lot of preparation getting to that point? I mean, or was it, you know what I mean? Was it just a combination of prayer, God's timing, and mindset, or what was the big thing that got you to be able to click that mouse?
it was a lot of trust. It was a lot of positive things that drew us to what Panama could potentially hold for us. Things were going downhill in this country. We're like, whoa, let's try something new. And ultimately, it was a decision to answer the question, do we want to move there indefinitely? Just to, live a new life.
Okay.
Patrick had done most of the research. I had dipped my toe in a little bit and heard people's stories, and all the stories we had heard about Panama were just wonderful. Healthcare, cheap, cheap, cheap. You don't have to worry about insurance or anything like that. We thought, cost of food would be lower. Where we were, it wasn't really true. If we had been closer in a part of Panama where they actually grew the food, then yes, it would have been cheaper as far as that goes. But there are just so many positive things that we just decided, okay, why the heck not? now or never. And we didn't want to not go and be wondering, what if down the
Right.
road. We just wanted an answer, right? We
Okay.
said, okay, if we go and the answer is no, then it's no. And we
Right.
can just be at peace and just move on, right? And if it's yes, then okay, then we just take the next step. So
So
it's a
you,
combination of things.
okay.
And we're very spontaneous and um, adventurous people.
That's good.
We do a
Yes.
lot of things that most people wouldn't do. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So
so
you,
we sold all of our furniture.
wow. That that's a just
Facebook
right there.
Marketplace,
That's just a huge leap of faith to
detachment.
sell everything.
Yeah. I mean, all we had in our 10 by 10 storage were about 50 to 60 or 70 bins from Costco, like the big black
Wow.
ones with the
Yeah.
yellow lids. That's it. And a tent. Like literally every furniture, with the exception of a few fold-up chairs and a couple like fold-up Costco tables. That's it.
Wow.
And so, in that respect, that was okay for us because we're both very detached from stuff. Like we easily, both of us can let go of things like that. So things that I think would be difficult in most marriages are a lot
Right.
easier for us because we're on the same page as far as that
Right.
goes.
Right.
Neither
That
of
being
us
the
are,
key.
yeah,
That
neither
you're
of us
both
are like hoarders.
right.
So, um, we didn't tell our families until I didn't tell my mother until maybe uh April. She's more of a worry wart, so
Mm,
but she was
right.
totally like, okay, Catherine, next adventure, buckle up, buttercup, you know? Um, so and all the kids were very open to it. None of them put on the brakes. None of them fussed about it. None of
Wow.
them did your typical maybe teenage response, like, this is y'all's dream. This is not
Right.
our dream.
Right.
Y'all can go if you want. But again,
That's
no
amazing.
no real friend bases here to latch on to that they had to let go of. So, and because they just know us and this is the ether in the household,
Right.
so they're like, okay, let's go. And we talk things up and get excited about it.
Yep.
So, what was it, 26th, we flew. I tell you, Laura, there was so much angst and anxiety in me. Like, my thoughts were, what if we get there and we both work from home? And what if internet connections aren't good and we can't work and we run out of money and then we barely make it home on fumes? And what if this is just a horrible experience and all the what ifs? Your brain starts looking for
Yep.
all those things. But then I would sit down and just share this with my husband and just he would help set me straight and refocus on the pot. It was such a mind game
Oh
in my
yeah.
head. But I also know about myself with any change or transition, whether it's a move or a change in church or any big change, I always know that my own personal way of dealing with things, I always find that the anticipation of whatever it is always way worse than the actual experience. And then once
Yes.
I'm there, no problem. And I look back
Right.
and I'm like, now see, was that worth it? And I remember I worked for a man in 2000 who was our next door neighbor, the father of the family next door, just super good Christian man. And I would just get worried and anxious about things. And he goes, Catherine, getting all worried and upset about it isn't going to change a thing. Like it just creates more angst in your body. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
however, so we went and we landed and it was hot and humid, you know, but we went from like desert hot to tropical hot.
Yeah.
So
Right. But
No,
at this point, the plan was when you got on the plane, the plan was to just go for 6 months, or was it
yes.
indefinite or what?
Um, According to rules, you can only be in Panama for 6 months with a
Oh, okay.
passport.
Okay.
And then if you want to return, you have to leave for 30 days and then come back.
Okay.
So the goal was to be there for 6 months, and we stayed in 8 different Airbnbs
Wow.
to we wanted to see different places to see what we liked, you know. We had the goal of staying more. We were on the Pacific coast, so if you know, Panama is kind of shaped like this. Here's Costa Rica is here, and here's Panama City. So we were actually only in on the Pacific coast we went as far 2 hours west of Panama City. We got
Okay.
there during the rainy season, but on the coast it doesn't rain every day. If you were more in the highlands, you get a whole lot of rain every day. And so we really liked our time on the coast. We stayed in a variety of places from really fancy schmancy, golf resort places, um, to um, more Panamanian style, a more Panamanian style home, like literally right on the beach. It was just lovely. Of course, the accoutrements inside of a Panamanian home, the kitchen is about this big, and you've got
Right.
this much space to make your meals. You just learn to be flexible and grateful in the moment for what you have. Um,
Oh, can you just kind of
so
tell us what you guys
yeah.
traveled with? Because that
Oh, okay,
amazed
yeah.
me. I mean, talk about detachment. Whew.
Well, we knew that we weren't going to rent a car because that would have cost us about $800 a month, and we didn't want to do that. We simply relied on taxis and the local buses, um, and walking. And so
Wow.
we took 6 big suitcases and 6 backpacks. Yes, that's what
To
we took.
live. Right.
But then once we got there, we're doing grocery shopping. So we're also lugging around from Airbnb
True.
to Airbnb like 10 canvas bags full of food items, right? So it's not just, it was, but it was also that.
Right.
And so yeah, there's so much I could say, but I want to let you kind of ask the questions that are more on your heart and curious to know.
What I was thinking too is, okay, now you're in a place where you don't know anybody. I don't know, did anybody else know Spanish, or were you the main communicator?
I was the main person. Patrick knows basic, but he's interesting. He loves languages. And even though he grew up in New Mexico, he's never really learned it or studied it enough that he could speak fluently.
Okay.
I'm not like native fluent, but I can get by, and I know the structure and the grammar, and I can speak fluidly. But it's the listening part when people speak really fast. I just like, más lento, por favor. So, but he's interesting because he's good at like hearing all of it, whatever it is, and getting and putting it in context
Wow.
and creating meaning and understanding. So much so that and I'm a little different, when I will hear all of it, I know most of the vocabulary, but if I hear a word that I don't know, my brain will just, wait, Google Translate, or I'm
Right.
asking a question to the person about that word to get meaning in Spanish. So together we're a
Right.
really good team because
Good.
he's like, how do you say this or that? And I'll tell him, and then we'll be in circumstances where my mind will stop and he'll just keep listening, and he'll say, well, they said blah, blah, blah. I'm
Wow.
like, well, thank you. I totally didn't catch that. This is a good pairing, but he grew so much and he has no fear. Zero fear of
That's
making mistakes. So, and he loves people and he loves connecting and he will just say whatever, piece things together. And you put yourself out there with native speakers and they just welcome it. They're not judgmental. They think it's great. And they're just,
nice.
yeah, wonderful. No one's like judging. It's all up here so many times.
Right. Right.
No.
Exactly. So then because I'm thinking, all right, you go down there, you don't know the language. It can be such an experience that would then, okay, now here you are, but how much are you throwing yourself out there? And so it seems like then what you're saying is because Patrick is like that, just putting himself out there, everybody else followed suit, and you really got to experience things that maybe other people would go down there and wouldn't necessarily put themselves out there, or just kind of be like, okay, we kind of experienced, and that was it. So,
And I would say because of my language ability down there, I also was more in a leadership role too, because you're required. And
right, right.
I was not afraid. And when I get in those situations, I look forward to speaking the language. It's fun. Um, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful language. And but when you're in Panama City, there are more people that speak English.
Okay.
But once you get outside of Panama City, the likelihood of that happening, depending on where you are, is less. We were in the city for 3 days when we first got there, and we met so many people. It was awesome. The first 3 days felt like about 10
Wow.
because the learning curve was so high and everything was brand new and you're just taking it all in. We were on the, I think, 23rd floor of a condo or apartment building, which was like one of two. And we had a view just of the city and the oceans on the other side of the building. But it was just beautiful. And Panama City, it's very busy and there's a lot of life. And you hear, the beep beep and the cars and at all hours. But it was not the same feeling as being in, say, a city like New York City.
Yeah.
We felt very safe to walk around with our kids. People were so welcoming and helpful. We met expats, we met locals, we met people from Nicaragua. And because of the Panama Canal, there are a lot of people who are of Asian descent. Overall, we did not do a lot of like adventuresome things. We didn't go like ziplining. We didn't go on rainforest hikes, right? We did see the canal literally the day before we left. Um, we and if we had to do it again, yeah, we would have liked to do those types of things like the jet skis or rent a this kind of boat or, go
Right.
out to eat more often. And we did that, for some financial reasons. But what I think big picture was good that we did, we just simply lived our life the way we normally do in that country. We homeschooled, we worked from home, we we took walks, whether that was on the beach or down the road in a more, some one of our places was a little more remote, so we got to see more green.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the grocery store and we were like the gringo family in there, big, tall, white people with lots of children buying like $200 worth of groceries at a pop. Because most of the people, when the locals in the grocery stores, what are they buying? Rice, beans, I mean, staples.
Right.
And here we are buying like all the things. And we're not really extravagant eaters. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
we ate the same probably 10 meals all throughout our time. So there's like an element of humility when you go and you're just the Americanos and you're buying all these groceries and they're just like bleep, 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 you know, and you have a huge cart of food. You just feel like ugh, kind of like a schmuck, but also very grateful.
Right.
Um,
Right. A
I mean,
big cultural difference there.
yeah, the Panama is known as the hub of the Americas. Panama City is just huge and bustling and very exciting. But outside of that, the homes are cinder block walls. You know, they don't have screens in the windows, they're just open windows. Um,
Hmm.
they're small. A lot of people ride bikes, a lot of people walk, most people take the little busitos, the little local buses. Um, very simple lifestyles. When they work, they work.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're off, they play hard. They rest. They're with family. And it's a simple life. They're very good at living. Their work is their work and their play is their play. And in the States, what do?
Hmm.
We work wishing we were not
Right.
and looking forward to the weekend. And then when the weekend comes, we're thinking about the work ahead of us that we should be doing. And we're
Right.
guilty that we're not working it.
Right.
It's complicated. We make it complicated.
Yes.
Because we are Catholic and we practice our faith, we went to mass every Sunday. Other than that, it was todo en español every weekend, which is beautiful. And since we homeschool, I incorporated years ago at the very beginning, learning that Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, all en español, and even some of the mass parts, like the Confiteor in the beginning.
Well,
So
that's good.
here are
Right.
these güeros at mass, and we know the Padre Nuestro, we know the Yo confieso a Dios Todopoderoso, blah, 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 blah. We can do that. There's no masstimes.org, Panama. So you have to like network to find out when mass is. Just
Okay.
because a little capilla is down the road doesn't mean that there's going to be mass there every
Oh,
Sunday. So the best community experience as far as church goes, we were in this little place called El Refugio del Valle, or Refuge of the Valley, a little bit off the beaten path, barely. And it was a 2-minute walk, and there was a little capilla, little chapel around the corner. We're like, perfect. We don't have to take a taxi to go to mass. We can just walk there. So after we got there one day, then the next day, Patrick and I took a walk, and we went to the end of the street, and there's a few homes, and one of the home was a little kiosk where they sell out of their home like chicken and rice,
Mm-hmm.
home/little cafe. And we talked to the woman there, Anna, and her husband, and we're like, hey, do you know if mass goes on here all the time? And if not, where can we go? And she's like, oh, mi hermana Yasmin, my sister Jasmine is next door. You can talk to her. Like literally next door. So we're like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Hola, Yasmin. Yasmin, hola. So she comes out of her house and we just start talking. And she's like, yeah, there's mass here on this day and this day and this day. We got her number. And so she would just keep us in the loop as far as when mass was happening. Is there a
Nice.
rosary? Yeah, there's a rosary. So our family, thank you, Jesus. And this was an Advent. So we got the first Christ the King, and then the first, second, and third Sunday of Advent, we were in the same place, which was really lovely. And the church, the little capilla, was full, and they were very welcoming. We'd said the rosary with them prior to mass, the rosary 500. You can hang like the first
Right.
half, but then the second half, they're like,
Yeah, right.
okay, what just happened?
So that's
But
right. You were there for Christmas.
we
how was
were.
that as an experience? I mean, culturally, and you probably have your own traditions that how much of those could you really
Hmm.
carry on at that point?
I think what made it challenging was the fact that it was still summer.
Yes.
I'm looking at pictures of friends on Facebook and talking to family, and the weather is getting cooler. The leaves are changing, the leaves are dropping. Now it's snowing, and it's still tropical, and we're in shorts. Of course, if you're in hill country in Texas, you could still be wearing shorts in December.
Right.
However, and there weren't many decorations around, so this external seasonal environment wasn't what we typically experience going towards the holidays. Too, so I felt like I had to conjure up feelings of the holidays as they were coming.
Right.
Even with Advent, it was really hard to enter into that season. And because we were in Panama and we were lugging everything around, we told the kids, we said, hey, like, this is our Christmas.
Well, right.
This
Right. You're
is
not gonna.
Christmas. We uh, actually we went out and bought like one gift for each person. And during Christmas, we were in more of a luxury kind of place, which was gorgeous. So it was like 5 minutes. We walked to the beach, golf course, lovely surroundings, and just beautiful. So, all the gifts weren't part of it. And our kids still believe in Santa, like all of them, including our 16-year-old son. And I know he won't watch this, so I'm okay saying.
Right.
But, and what we did do, because Santa always leaves a note, so we put the note from Santa in the Feliz Navidad stocking, and we said, kids, you're doing so well. I'll make a surprise visit in 2023, whenever that will be. So Santa will come visit, maybe Christmas in July. I don't know yet. We'll see. They're like, Mom, does Santa come to Panama? You know. So it
Right.
was, but the good thing about that is you're living in a culture that is so simple. People don't have a lot of stuff, and whenever we went to mass, all the priests, deacons, very passionate. You could just, it's real, there's no
Hmm.
fakeness, just an authentic beauty in their faith. Um, Kind of like what you get from a lot of African priests here in the States, which we love. So in keeping things simple around the holidays, you just got to focus on what was important.
Right. Which,
Yeah,
yeah, that's beautiful in and of itself, right there, just to remove all the other
yeah,
distractions.
yeah. Um, so we got really good at transitions. You know, you get comfortable. The longest we stayed in one place was 5 weeks.
Okay.
The shortest, the city was 3 days, and then we were in a different place for 10 days, and then it was a 5 week stay, a 4 week stay, a 4 week stay, a 5 week stay, a 4 week stay, and then at the end we were in the city for 6 days, and then we flew out. So you asked me a question earlier of why we came back. Um, we always try to keep the door of communication open with our kids
Hmm.
during this whole process. How's everyone doing? What do you think? I like this. I don't like this. Oh, this was interesting. And so halfway through, we felt the tug to go back to the States. A number of things played into it, largely, and the biggest priority for us was our kids' education. Um, because our oldest is about 2 to 3 years away from college, and then it's 2 more years after that for our daughter. And so
Hmm.
also we're feeling called out of homeschooling. So we were looking at charter schools And so we essentially landed on El Paso because it has more options for the kids compared with southern New Mexico, better schools as far as looking towards college, and just El Paso is just 10 times bigger and there's more opportunities and
Right.
you know. So we made our decision at the 3-month mark that we would go back. And we were pretty excited about that.
Okay.
Now, does that mean we had a miserable experience? No. One person commented on my Facebook page, "Oh, I'm so sorry. How come Panama didn't work out for you?" Well, we went with an open mind, no expectations, just to see and try it on. And try it on we did. And we met fantastic people. It was the people who made the trip most of all, who made the experience
Yeah.
worthwhile. One thing Patrick really appreciated as a guy, as a man, most, often here in the States, men will ask, "So what do you do? What do you do?" No one ever asked that question in Panama. No one asked that
Interesting.
question. You just talk about life,
Wow.
family, people. There's no like competition.
We talk to women all the time who have that desire or dream that's been kind of nagging at them, and they're afraid. They're afraid to do it. So, what would you say to them to encourage them after this experience?
Hmm I would say to trust. If it's on your heart, it's there for a reason. If you don't try it, then you'll never know. Do you want to get to the end of your life and say, "Oh, man, I wish I would have blah, blah, blah. I wonder what would have happened if I had blah, blah, blah." Um, yeah, you never know.
Right.
Now, I mean, this whole experience, we're done. Do we miss Panama? We really don't, to be honest. There's so many good things going on here right now. And I've been in the same place for over 4 weeks and I'm not living out of my suitcase. Yes. But I think teaching our kids and giving them the opportunity to just risk and pick up and go,
Right.
I'm sure that experience has planted seeds in them that will not come to life for a while,
Right.
years down the road. And what's cool, current situation, both kids are in charter schools where they are clearly the minority. We're in El Paso. I could spit over into Mexico right now or over into New Mexico. We are the minority here in these schools.
Mm-hmm.
It's and there every day there are 4 huge buses that come over from Juarez, Mexico, about 250 students at the school where my older 2 children go in 6th through 12th grade every day. And kids get up at 4 a.m. to get
Wow.
on that bus. The buses pick them up at the bridge at the border and bring them up here and take them back down at the end of school.
Wow.
School is 8 to 4. So that says something. But I tell you, being surrounded for our kids, being in Panama, surrounded by a lot of beautiful brown-skinned, black-haired people who speak Spanish, they're surrounded by it all day long. It's not a bilingual school, but that's what they hear in the hallways, in between
Right.
classes,
Right.
in classes even, and they have been using Spanish. No one's forcing them.
Right.
They just choose it. My son, who's 16, made about 20 Valentines, handmade on his own, and he wrote handmade Valentines in Espanol
Wow.
for a lot of his friends who are not only sophomores, but they're also juniors and seniors.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
And those were well received.
Nice.
And they've been so welcomed at these schools. So just to be surrounded by that culture and choose to speak Spanish, which is not the typical response from your pan blanco, white bread American students,
Right.
teenagers. So that's really cool.
Right.
I'm
And I
very
mean,
proud of my kids.
hard to say. I mean, definitely the 6 months had an impact on them. Right.
Hmm.
So that's and I like what you said too. You have no idea right now what kind of seeds that 6 months planted in them.
Hmm.
So I think that's what's exciting about this kind of thing is, okay, you and your husband following your dream and being open and willing to experiment and share that with your kids and being open to what they wanted, and where they were at all along the journey is going to impact them for the rest of their lives. And I think that's what's so exciting about it wasn't just about you. It wasn't just about your husband saying, I want this dream and we're going to go do it. No, it's like planting those seeds
Hmm.
for the future. And I've talked
Hmm.
before about it, the ripple impact of how the experience impacts them and how that's going to then impact somebody else and in a positive way. I loved following your whole journey and seeing all the beautiful pictures and just watching as you guys experienced all this really cool stuff. And then too, you just don't even know what kind of an impact just sharing that had on other people.
Yeah.
So
If I may, I'd love to share the impact on a particular woman,
mhm.
a woman who was in my mastermind last year at this time. Just us doing our thing. She said, Catherine, that has inspired my husband and me to talk about traveling. She's like, I've always wanted to go blah, blah, blah. And he's always wanted to go blah, blah, blah. And so talking about that really has breathed life into their marriage, something beautiful and exciting to look forward to. And like, oh, just, if we go to like Korea, this is where we want to go. Oh, we can go here. Let's check out Airbnb. Like touching the dream and making it real. Just like Catherine, just you and Patrick doing your thing really has inspired us. So it's
Yep.
beautiful. It's beautiful. And who knows? Maybe our children are someone's gonna meet a Panamanian person down the road, marry a Panamanian. I don't even know.
Right.
And maybe Panama is the place, but just not now. For maybe Patrick and me 10 years from now. I don't even know. I have
Right.
no idea.
But that's the beauty of it. You
Yeah.
you can just take that experience and learn all the things from it and then put them to practice today and maybe
Hmm.
pull them back out later on. So
Yeah,
no, it's
that's
just
right.
that openness
Hmm.
can be applied to anybody in any dream. That the mindset, the willingness, the openness. Um,
Hmm.
you can learn that.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
for
can
sure.
learn it and grow. And yeah, I'm so grateful that we had the experience of being in me being in your master class together and learning that, because just that whole thing has completely changed my life, because yeah, here I am
Yeah,
podcasting. Who'd have thought?
right.
So
I remember you coming to me, just you were at a state in life where you were on the edge of finishing homeschooling. You were entering that whole empty nester time of life, and you're just like, I just know that there's something out there. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to feel restless. And now, podcast, book, it's really exciting to watch. Very
thanks. Yeah,
exciting.
it is. And I like that, right? We can inspire other people just by our own journey.
Yes.
So I appreciate any last thoughts or that you want to leave us with.
I think just again to encourage people to trust God with your life, be open to new things, because you don't want to get to the end of your life and wonder what if, and
Yep.
and don't stop growing no matter what season of life.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to see where your life in El Paso takes you.
Hopefully we'll be here for a while.
Right. But, and thanks everybody for listening. And if you would be so kind as to like and share and subscribe and all those good things. And then I think I am going to be taking a little bit of a break. I'm going to call this officially, I think, the end of season 1. Take a little bit of a break, regroup, and come back with some more interviews and everything in season 2. So I appreciate everyone listening, and I will see you again soon. Thanks, Catherine. Thank you, everybody.
Laura.
And God bless.